Who's the guy that's peeking out behind the trash can?
Vigilantes, trying to be helpful.
Hey! Our first target is Senator Roland Goff.
Mother piece of shit! Oh my god! What the
Light, it's this guy. It's not.
Did you see that? Did you? The voice of youth!
Doesn't matter how much you keep rewrapping the product, put a nice bow on it, maybe some really good, nice wrapping paper, it's still the same product underneath it. And, you know, we need to understand that this is going to continue on. They're not going to stop doing this. You know, where they're getting the money from, I'm really surprised. But before we start, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, switch it to all, and you'll receive all of our notifications here on CutyCast TV and Man Man with the Show. Over the past weekend, we saw the DC Fandome, which is sort of DC's version replacement for the for not being at Comic-Con because they can't afford it anymore. It's too costly for them. San Diego hasn't really returned. New York Comic-Con has returned to live levels where basically you can go to the convention center, and that basically the New York Comic-Con wasn't great either. Wasn't anything that you could push, and there were a lot of controversies that was going on at the Javits Center, and wasn't good at all. And from what I understand, there were a lot of people that were supposed to show up that didn't show up at all. So DC Fandom had there over the weekend, and you knew it was going to be mostly pre-recorded stuff, nothing really live. I said, join us live. They weren't live. Most of the stuff was pre-recorded. You know that this was pre-recorded. And basically, what they extended out was pretty much the same. I expected it. I mean, we got a trailer for the new Batman movie, the Black Adam. We also got one for the new Peacemaker series. Shazam, Titans, the Young Justice series as well, and many other things. And it wasn't too expected. I mean, looking at some of the people, and they discussed this online. Like, for example, the Batman movie that's coming out, The Batman. Okay, yeah, it's dark. It looks good and stuff like that. But who's he fighting again? The Riddler? I mean, really? Come on, Warner. How many stories do you have out there that you could have written that didn't have to be a Joker story, a Riddler story, a Penguin, Catwoman, Superman? You know, there's so many lines that you could have used on the Batman alone, and you went with the Riddler. And considering that you have a Flash movie, which is like Flashpoint, and you have what? Michael Keaton going to reprise his role. Does that get me excited? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. What happened with Jeffrey Dean Morgan that was supposed to play Bruce Wayne's father, Batman version? Are they still doing that? I really don't know. You know, I was expecting that more than Michael Keaton Batman. But we already did Flashpoint. I mean, why, you know, animated? Why do it again? Why really do a lot of this stuff again? And Shazam, no, not too much of a big fan of the Shazam movie. You know, it was okay, but you're talking to a guy who grew up with two different versions of Shazam as he was growing up. And both of those are technically better than what's going on with what DC's doing today with the Shazam character. And then, of course, Black Adam. Good choice to do. And then you get The Rock in there. But honestly, as much as I like The Rock is losing his flavor right now. He was the flavor of the month or of the year. But ask a wrestling fan, do they really care anymore about The Rock? Check out his last film. How much did that movie make that he's in? And is anyone eager for the new one he's making, the new one he just made for Netflix with Ryan Reynolds in it? I think more people are more interested in Ryan Reynolds than they are The Rock. You know, it's like Idris Elba. As great, and I love Idris Elba in a lot of TV series from overseas, and some of the stuff he does. The stuff that he's done over here has been lackluster. It hasn't been that great. You know, you could tout back to Pacific Rim, which I think that's about one of his best on this end of the continent. But then, you go to the other end, and all this stuff that he's done overseas is, award winning. It's much better. It's much better, writing and performance wise, story wise. Luther. That's the series I'm thinking of. Luther right now. That is a really good series. But he's not getting that over here. And then, of course, we have all the animated stuff that's coming out. Young Justice. I love Young Justice, but there's something different about it this time around. Can't put my finger on it, but you could take a guess what it is. And I have to watch a couple of episodes, but I think it's also faltering as well on there. Now, getting into a little bit into Peacemaker, John Cena, okay, I don't mind on that, but why is this turning into sort of like a Deadpool? One thing I have to laugh between Marvel and DC. You notice the similarities in some of the characters back and forth in the different universes between DC and Marvel. Some of them are similar and all that, but it seems like Hollywood, studio to studio, whether it's Marvel or DC, tends to try to one-up themselves to say, hey, look, this did well for them. Let us try that. Understanding that, if someone else has done it, honestly, why do we need to see it in another incarnation? The only way I want to see something like this in an incarnation, if it's done from a low-budget company and as a joke. Like all those movies that Sci-Fi Channel brings on every once in a while that makes fun of other horror films and other sci-fiction films, because they really don't. Those guys don't really care what they do. And like this movie called Atlantic Rim, ripoff of Pacific Rim, which is a horrible movie, but well worth to watch one way or another on that. But yet you get a high-budget product like Peacemaker, and tell me in the comments if you agree with me. Deadpool ripoff, maybe? And then to get into the comics, how many more characters are you going to make gay? I mean, really, DC, how many more characters are you just going to swap out to be either bisexual or gay? Because this is getting ridiculous. Now, first you had Robin, and now you're doing Jonathan Kent. And it is... I mean, Bounty the Comics put out an article about a study that says woke culture and pandering had its limited impact on LGBT mental health and suicide rates. What does that tell you? I tout back... Let's put it in this perspective, and then I'll put this into this article again that I keep bringing up from years ago from Huffington Post. This was written, again, and I don't know how many times I keep using this, back in 2012, okay? And it's been updated since then, 2017. And the line you have to bring in here, and this is basically, the article is talking about the Logo Network and its change from LGBTQ programming to basically sitcoms. That's mostly what it is. It's mostly sitcoms. And there's a line. Why the change? Most LGBT don't see showcasing their sexual orientation as a priority on television, according to a study Logo conducted. This isn't surprising. Most real-life conversations don't start with, "Hi, I'm gay." And this is the truth. Every time, this is what you keep seeing. I mean, you're putting to the point, it's like, oh, Jonathan's now gay. Have you not known, for those of you who have not realized, DC has been wanting to rip apart the Superman family for quite some time. And they've done it in Rebirth, the Rebirth issues, and a couple of sideline stories and stuff like that. They got rid of Jonathan for a while. Now they brought him back, and now they're making him gay. And now he's with a gay YouTuber. And then they're protesting. Then they're protesting climate. I mean, come on, really, really, have we not learned from Superman: The Quest for Peace, the movie? Have we not learned that? Have we not learned when Superman that he was trying to get rid of all the nuclear weapons on the planet? The movie didn't work. It was a horrible movie. It was really horrible movie. And then, of course, they start to bring the fan service in, and they put out a picture of Robin, a cover of Robin, where he's sweating, glycering over his body, wet and stuff like that. Oh, God forbid if we put Batgirl, Batwoman, Wonder Woman, or any other female DC characters in this kind of position, what kind of a response we would get from those activists. They'll be sitting there going, "Oh, yeah, they're insulting women. They're using them. They're human beings, and this and that." That's the hypocrisy of the whole situation. A woman who goes out and strips for a living because she has to make her bills is horrible. But if a guy does it, it's okay. It's the same thing with a lot of programming out. They'll criticize a woman over a man about a particular scene that they do. They were saying sex sells. Yeah, sex sells to a certain point. But if you use it politically, people will walk away from that. It's not to the situation. Then we got this point where they're changing the motto of Superman. Now, a lot of people, I don't like the change on it. And I agree with everybody on there. I mean, truth, justice, and a better tomorrow? Really? That's what they can really come up? But know the situation, yeah, this is partially political. But here's the other thing most people haven't realized yet. And some people have put this out already, some people in the industry. Truth, Justice, and the American Way was trademarked, which is correct. DC owned the trademark. But the thing about it is, not like copyright law. Trademark law, when something falls out of trademark law, it's because it's become, how can we put this, more substantially said word. Perfect example, Xerox, the company. If you have Xerox, the company, how do you say when you want to make a copy of a piece of paper? Do you say copy of a piece of paper? No, I'm going to Xerox it. And that's what happens with this. If if the word becomes generic, too generic, that's what I was looking for. If the terminology that's trademark becomes too generic, then it falls out of trademark. And that's what happened with Truth, Justice, and the American Way. It's become too generic, and it's fallen out of trademark. So basically, DC decided financially that not to keep it and change it, which is totally a stupid thing to do. Because really, it should be kept. Truth, Justice, and the American Way, there's a reason for that. Because you have to remember, at the time when it was created, the world was much bigger at the time. And these days it's much smaller. But you got to remember, there are places out there in the world that doesn't believe things of the American way. What the American way is freedom, freedom of choice, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, everything that we have, that we hold dear in our good old Constitution. That's what they meant. You know, baseball and apple pie, all that is part of the American way. Other countries try to copy it and don't do a good job of it. And then there are those who will stay away from it because they will lose power to the situation. And I'm talking in politics and government. You know, there are many different countries in this world. Do they adapt the ways we are? We are a constitutional republic, not a democracy, a constitutional republic. That is the American way. Always remember that. Now, getting back to Batman a little bit. You know, and the same thing with the Superman. There are so much out there. And one thing I've said a while back, DC and Marvel need to stop making movies. I mean, stop making these a movie that could cost them millions, and then they have to be sure to make billions just to cover their cost on there. I mean, No Time to Die, you probably going to have to get to about 800 million, maybe more, just to break even. And the same thing with every other movie, Shang-Chi, everybody else, you know, and that's partially because of the delays. They didn't have to delay these movies. They could have put them forward. There were many other ways that they could have done. And I'm not talking about streaming apps. Drive-ins were open. They were open cross-country. And some of them were making some good money. You could have offered deals to the drive-ins and put these movies in there. But no, they didn't. But this is the reason why they need to stop doing the movie. They're spending so much money on these movies and these actors and changing, and a lot of them don't work well. Look at the last two Suicide Squad movies. Suicide Squad is a good concept, a good direction. You know, you're using characters that you generally don't use. It's the same thing with Stargirl, and this is the reason why I liked season 1 of Stargirl. You were going in a different direction that you generally don't normally do in the comic book to TV adaptations or to movie adaptations. Suicide Squad fell because of scripting, because of the way they threw everything together. Now, if you go to the animated, and they made a couple of animated ones, those were more popular. Those, they were able to do a lot more with it and include Batman and a couple of other characters in some of the movies in there properly. And it worked. I enjoyed both Suicide Squad movies. The second one was not as good as the first, but still, both were very good. There was another movie back a bit, based on one of the top graphic novels of all time, Justice League New Frontiers, that took us to the early days of Justice League from a point of view during the Kennedy administration. And that was really good. It was fantastic. And then, of course, the Dark Knight Returns movies. Those were very good. And I'm talking about the animated. Not the Batman versus Superman, which was horribly done. You know, one of the worst movies coming out of DC on that. They faltered on a couple of the films, a couple of the animated films on there. Mask of the Phantasm still is on a lot of people's top list as far as animated movies. It was a really good story. Yes, the Joker was part of the background, but there was another villain as part of that. Same thing with Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Justice League and its sequel series, the early days of Young Justice, the early Teen Titans series. What do all these series have in common? No politics, no activism, just stories fresh out, a lot of them fresh out of the comics, and also some of them from other series that were created further on, like Batman Beyond. We got a finalization of the ending of Batman Beyond in the Justice League series. And it was very well done. Now, there's one story they could have done. And I'll throw this out and give this out free to Warner. There was a comic back when I was younger, back in the 80s. And it was Batman Special Number 1. It came out in June 1984, and I still have it in my collection. And it contained a character which has been used more currently in the New 52, but they've done a horrible job of his character in the New 52. But the original concept of it was very well done, created by Mike W. Barr and Mike Golden. And it was the Wraith issue, which was basically, it wasn't an alternate reality Batman. It was what if, not even a what if, think to the perspective when Batman was born on the day when his parents were murdered. Across town, there were another set of parents being killed by a police officer. And both children grew up sort of similar. One wanting to fight crime, and the other one wanted to fight the police. And this sort of tails toward the Detective Comics in a way. And that's the one thing that they haven't really done. Is why haven't we gotten really a Batman movie more toward the old Detective Comics? Ra's al Ghul always called Batman the detective for a reason. And there were many stories that were written, and this Batman Special Number 1 happened to be one of them, was someone was going after Jim Gordon. Jim Gordon happened to be the man who murdered the Wraiths, or the Wraths, or however you want to call it, parents, when he was a young rookie. And it's a real good, if you could find a copy of this, do read this. It is really good. The new, like I said, the newer stuff, the new 52 and all that doesn't hold a candle to this. A movie of this nature would have worked. And I'll tell you why. Because it's different. It takes the Batman to a different level. This is not an alternate reality character. This is someone in a main universe that ends up finally fighting against Batman, and they are two sides of a coin, the yin and the yang. You know, you always talk back that Joker was the yin and the yang, and that's part of it also. But this was more closer. Because actually, had the suit, had the look, just different colors. Both bent the same way. See, both characters are distinguished by perfectionism and obsession. Those are psychological issues. And to see both two different persons that had the same tragedy in their lives fall two different paths in life, and finally their paths intersect, and to see what would happen next is something very interesting. Like I said, you could take this, you could take many other the Detective Comics. You know, you could do a murder mystery, stuff like that. You know, you could have done Batman Year One, which it was done in animated, and the animated was very good. But yet, you know, Hollywood wants to throw these out, change the characters around, you know, and you know, try to make it look real cool. The type of car, the darkness, the color shadings and stuff like that. Like I said at the beginning, you put a new wrapper on there with a nice bow. It's still the same. It's still the same. How much further can we go with this? You know, you have the DC universe on the CW, and they're not doing well. I mean, Supergirl is about to end. Black Lightning, it was canceled. Arrow was canceled. We're wondering when Batwoman will be canceled because they've gone already now into season 3 and still the ratings are crap. When are they going to learn? The only DC character that has worked has been the Superman and Lois TV series. Why has that worked different? Because it doesn't have the elements that the other shows have had. The activism, the political topics that they normally have. You've gone to the family, the way it was. This is the things that DC is trying to rip apart in the comic books. See, the perspective is that DC Comics have been wanting to rip apart the family and just change everything around because they didn't like it. They didn't like it. They want to put their emphasis. You know, and this is what's the problem with the world these days. They want to, the activists want to tear apart the family, the nuclear family. Nuclear family is very important in life. If you don't have family and you don't have friends, then you know you can't really survive. Really, family is family. You know, there's la familia. You know, you hear this in many movies, TV series, and stuff like that. But yet they want to erase that all. And, you know, you see stuff like Stargirl, which, you know, they talk about family and that. And like I said, season 1, someone said, well, you know, the characters are not that great, the kids. The season 1 stuff was good, as I said. Season 2, it's becoming activism. I mean, you have some glimpse there that you throw. Look at the ratings. Look at the ratings the CW is pumping out for this. This is the same network that's getting Babylon 5. And I said this before. I don't trust it. I know you'll say, Jay Michaels is in charge. How much in charge is he? How much control does he have? Originally down the line, Warner Brothers let J. Michael do what he wants years ago. Today, I don't think he has that advantage with that. And that's the same thing with all the other TV series. You had Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing, when it was moved over from the DC Universe streaming app to the CW, was doing decently in the ratings. Now, if they did a season 2, I think the ratings would have gone up. The story was better than anything they were putting out. And that's the same thing happened with Stargirl, because Stargirl came from the same place, but you saw how much they faltered. They just didn't want to put the money into the show. And that's why I say, let's go with animated. And, you know, because basically animated's cheaper. You're able to do a lot of great stories, and it has been still very popular. Now, I don't like the Catwoman one. How can I put it? It looks anime inspired. But I think they're trying too hard on the anime inspired, and I don't think it's going to work for them. But I could be wrong. You never know with these situations. And I haven't even gone through Titans, Doom Patrol, or the couple of other things, Aquaman, the other things that are going on with this. Because, honestly, is it worth it? I mean, there's Wonder Woman 3, considering after the debacle on the last Wonder Woman movie, considering the direction they went with that, they're going to go with a third one. You know, you keep pumping the money in, but yet you still alienate the fans. The fans are your customers. You know, you sit here criticizing them and calling them racists and white supremacists and, you know, people that they don't, you know, how is it says, if you don't like my politics, then don't buy my product.
And if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book. Problem solved.
I mean, what kind of message is that? What kind of message is that you put to a person on there that, you know, that you're trying to sell this product to them? Are you going to expect the billions of dollars to come from the 1% of people that support what you're doing? Because it's not much. There's not that many people. Not that many people that support what you're doing to all these characters. I mean, eventuality, I mean, DC is going to die out. And the same thing with Marvel. Because right now, who makes a good superhero series right now? My Hero Academia? And that's over from Japan. Right now, Asia is putting out good product. We already see this with Squid Game and Alice in Borderlands. We see this from Demon Slayer, Mushoku Tensei, My Hero Academia. We're seeing all this product coming from overseas to the West, and they're out selling and basically being outwatched as far as ratings. You know, that people are enjoying this product because it is a good story. It has none of the activism. It's some really well done animation. And of course, you know the industry is going to try to rip this off, on this end. Of course they are. So we'll see what DC does next. Who are they going to make gay or bi next? Because some people are touting Wonder Woman, but they did that in Red Sun already. If my memory sets me right on that. So we reached this part of the program. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, share this video. And don't forget, every Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific, is another edition of Saturday Pre-Flight, where we take you back to the classics. And we'll see you on the next video. Thank you for tuning in, and bye-bye now.